So I have been sanding away with the random orbital sander, and as you can see, as I get to the 240 grit mark, the wood comes to life and you can start seeing the grain. Now there are some places where the random orbital will not reach, and I remember when I first started, the inner horn was a huge issue, and that has yet to be fine sanded. Relatively recently, I've discovered the perfect tool, and these are Carroll drum sanders that you just mount in your hand drill or in a drill press, and it's got a quick release mechanism. We've made another video demonstrating the one on the bobbin sander, or oscillating sander, whatever they call those now. Anyhow, I'm going to use this to fine sand the inside of that very tight curve there. As you can see, it throws up rather a lot of dust, but well, it's getting rid of the scratches really quickly. The trick is to keep an even movement as you're going around. You don't want to gouge an uneven curve in there. And there's another trick. I can have my finger here without any trouble. So if I need to, I can have something in a clamp. I don't want to bang things because I've just finished this guitar. Yeah, I can have this in a clamp and use my finger to guide it. I mean, eventually the friction will get a bit warm, but for small jobs it's fine. This used to take me many hours by hand. And I'm going to be done inside of a couple of minutes now. Up to this point I have been using light bulbs to see what I can see, and that is just not good enough. If you hold your guitar up in the light, in real light, you will be able to see if you have any scratches left over from, you know, earlier grits. And if you do see one, which you won't see on the camera, you draw around it and go back and do some more sanding. Before I do any more sanding, I have a few holes to cut, and not the ones you might think. So I've sanded away the few faults that I did find, a few scratches from 120 or 180 grit that were still showing through the 240. This will always happen with whatever guitar you're working on. And I've still got a lot of handwork to do. I'm going to take the whole guitar to 320 grit, and I've got to bevel over these edges because they're sharp and unattractive. However, we do have a few holes to drill. We're obviously putting a lot of electronics in, and you will have wondered why I haven't drilled those holes and the holes for the trem as well, to be honest. I'm not going to do it. I'm not even going to do it now. When you've got a big hole, there's a lot of end grain, and if you get a lot of oil, if you get too much oil inside that end grain, inside a large hole, then you can bubble up, and it can cause issues. It can warp the wood and be unattractive. And I'm confident enough in my skills with a drill that I'm not going to rip a huge hole when I'm drilling the holes later after the finish is applied. Some people, and I have done in the past as well, they drill all of their big holes and then they fill them with wax or shellac or something like that. And it makes sense, it does make sense to do it that way. I can't be bothered. But I'll leave that up to you. Now the holes that I do want to do too much dust in the air here. I want to finalise the outputs, and we've got a 13-pin MIDI out and then a standard stereo jack, and that's going to be a square hole, which I'm going to be cutting by hand because I haven't made a router jig for it, although I should, to be honest. Anyhow, let's work this one out.